Testing, testing. Sorry, everyone. I apologize for the delay. I was trying to figure things out with the restream. I went on another. I just, things just wasn't the way it's supposed to be. But now, since I can hear myself, I know that. And now everything is working out. I know the YouTube's there. I'm on YouTube today. I'm also on Kick. So all of those who's on Kick, welcome in. I'm also on Facebook on my House That Speaks DJ page. For those who's there, welcome in as well. Again, I apologize for being late. Was trying to figure things out. Now I know where I need to land when I do these rants. When I do these rants and discussions. But it won't be too long because starting February, I'm sorry, starting September, which is next month, I will kick back off season 2 of the Groove Rant, which will be music plus rant or discussion, and that won't be on Labor Day September. Labor Day September, if things go the way it will, I might do a pop up. I might do like a 1.5 or 2 hour set on Labor Day Monday. But we'll cross that bitch when it comes to it. So again, thank everyone for being here, and we're going to do something like an update here. Since I'm updating my system stuff like that, I decided to update a subject matter that I spoke to sometime last year. And this was regarding the acquisition of Alpha Theta, which is Pioneer DJ, and Serato DJ. Now, I think round about the early of last year, there was that rumor that Alpha Theta will be purchasing Serato. Now, I said something on that. If you go to I think it's either my Groove Rant or my Monday Night Rant playlist, you will see you will see that. I also, November of last year, I did an update because there was said that the acquisition versus Alpha Theta and Serrano didn't go through, going to the Uzine Commission. But I still was wondering what happened. Did Alpha Theta still pushed on and tried to acquire Serrano? Did Serrano get bought out by somebody else? Well, we're going to take a deep dive on that. So, without further ado, let's check it out. What's going on, everybody? This is House That Speaks. Hold on for 1 second. Okay, we are back at it again. I just wanted to make sure that yeah, you can see me now. So if you're new to the channel, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know if I'm doing another one of these rants and discussions. Now, like I said, we're going to be doing an update, and the update is what happened with the acquisition of Alpha Theta, and Serrano. Well, we're going to break that down because I did do some research. Hold on for 1 second. I did some research on it, and I did discover that that things didn't go Alpha Theta's way, so to speak. So without further ado, let's get with the presentation. Okay, like I said, this is an update regarding Alpha Theta and their acquisition to buy Serrano. Okay, like I said, where we last left off, the New Zealand Commission blocked the acquisition. They said, no, 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 Alpha Theta, you are not going to buy Serato. And since Serato is based in New Zealand, and Alpha Theta, if I'm not mistaken, is based in Japan, New Zealand said, no, we're not playing this Monopoly BS, so no, 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 you will not be buying. In fact, the research I discovered, you will find out the actual readings. So we're going to go to the next slide. Okay, I know you probably can't see that, but it says, it looks like there's a bit of confusion. Alpha Theta postponed acquisition of Serato was officially blocked in mid-2024, not completed. Like I said, if you go to my Monday Night Rant, I spoke on that. I spoke what happened. I spoke the reason being I did the research and found out that, like I said, the Commission of New Zealand, they felt as though that Alpha Theta was trying to monopolize the whole DJ software, hardware realm. And also there was other hardware companies, DJ hardware companies, that was resisting this particular buy. So there was a lot of different hands that was in the cookie jar, which means that Alpha Theta didn't get what they wanted. Let's put it that way. So, but the thing is, that block happened in mid 2024. If I'm not mistaken, it was probably around about November, because that's when I discovered it and also presented to you guys. So I'm just gonna read a little bit here, and we're gonna go with the next slide. Let's do the next slide here. Okay. Now, it says, whatever happened to Alpha Theta? Did Alpha Theta buy out Serato? Well, here we go. In July 2024, New Zealand Commerce Commission, that's those who have some say in regarding their companies, rejected the deal, conducting that the merger was significantly significantly lessen competition in both DJ software and hardware markets, which I would have to say that is true, because if you want to know, if for all intents and purposes, Serato is like the oldest when it comes to DJ software, but Alpha Theta / Pioneer DJ is the giant when it comes to DJ hardware. You don't believe me? Why you think Pioneer DJ today still called the industry standard? Because it's always recognized and asked for every known DJ writer. I didn't make the rules. I'm just telling you, I'm just giving you the deal. Okay? Okay. So, by that, I, probably, like I said, other DJ hardware companies probably had some felt sort of way, because remember, Serato DJ is also used by other different hardware companies like your Denon and your Reloop and things of that nature. So they probably thought that if Alpha Theta, if Serato was under Alpha Theta's umbrella, that means the rules would have changed, and also it can probably hurt or stagnate the hardware portion of the DJ industry, which I'm going to say in all intents and purposes it would, because that means you're going to be under Alpha Theta's thumb. That means Alpha Theta is going to do and say what they want to do, and all you have and you have nothing, and you have no say, and you're just going to have to bow down and kiss the ring. But these hardware companies don't want to do that. They want to do it They want to be on their own, do their own thing, and they also want to utilize Serato because everybody knows that Serato has been one of the oldest software systems out there, and DJs still use it to this day. So that's probably the reason. And also, it reads, the regulator worried that giving Alpha Theta control over Serato would effectively create a near monopoly. Hear that, near monopoly. Let's cut the word near out of there. It would have created a monopoly. Alpha Theta would have been the dictator when it came to DJ hardware and software if they would have bought Serato. Let's call it what it is. Let's not pretend. Let's not sugarcoat. Let's not dance on the words. We're gonna tell it like it is today. Okay? Okay. Over Serato would effectively create a near monopoly and harm integration options for other hardware brands. In other words, according to probably these DJ hardware companies, they will say that wait, we're used to certain things when we deal with Serato. Now we're gonna have, and besides, remember these hardware companies also competing with Alpha Theta / Pioneer. Because remember, Serato is just software. There's no hardware in their department. Whereas Alpha Theta Pioneer, they have the hardware, which is their all-in-ones, their controllers, their DJ gear, as well as software, which is who? Recordbox. So these hardware companies was thinking like, well, if you own Serato, that means you will have the lion's share of the entire DJ software, but we will also be at your mercy because you will have a say in what hardware that comes out. And competition is good. I always say competition is good. There's nothing like healthy competition. That's what makes things flow. Capitalism. Deal with it. Okay. The other part is that decision came after an extended investigation and pressure from industry players like InMusic. Now, if I'm not mistaken, InMusic is the ones that have Numark, Denon, and all the other hardware apparatus, which I don't blame them for having that kind of say. So, and they said, okay, like InMusic, which argue integration control could disadvantage competitors such as Denon, Numark, and Rane. And that's what InMusic, those three particular hardware, DJ hardware is under InMusic umbrella. Denon, Numark, Rane. Which means that if Serato would have been bought out by Alpha Theta would have the power and the control to cut these three DJ hardwares to their knees. They will cut them from the knees, which means that the sales that they will be getting, they're getting now, will be maybe half or maybe more. Or they will have to follow Alpha Theta's rules, which that would be unfair. Or, and here's another thing, or these three DJ hardware apparatus will be forced to use Recordbox. Because right now, there's no Recordbox in either Numark, Denon, or Rane. Now, just imagine if Alpha Theta would have owned Serato. That's the first thing I want to say. Well, since you use Serato software, now you're going to have to use Recordbox software. And then in Numark uses, not only they use the Serato, they also use their engine software. They have their own DJ software. So that means Alpha Theta was sitting out. That means Alpha Theta could say, "Hey, you no longer can use engine. Now, if you're going to use Serato, you got to use Recordbox. No questions asked." And they will have to do it. And I'm sure that I'm sure that they thought, look, this is not a good deal for us. So no. And I'm sure when they presented to the New Zealand Commerce and Commissioner, they said, you know what, you're absolutely right. This can't happen. So this is why the deal didn't happen last year. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, so now Alpha Theta didn't buy Serato. So what happened to Serato? What was the end result of all this? Well, come to find out, in April of this year, which was not about a few months ago, Serato announced that a Canadian investment company called Tiny, shout out to Canada. You know I have a special face in heart for Canada, so shout out to Canada. Had acquired 66% majority stake in the company. Now, that's all Tiny owns. That's all they have. They only have a portion of Serrano's stock. So that means Serato still have a good control, a minority control of their company still. Whereas they probably wouldn't have that case with Alpha Theta. Alpha Theta would have owned the entire Serato stock. And I think Serato thought, well, it's better that we own something and have another company to help us with the integration than have our main competitor, especially when it comes to DJ software, take us over, period. Okay? Okay, let's see the company. This deal is separate and unrelated to Alpha Theta. It remains subject to approval from New Zealand's Overseas Investment Office, which oversees foreign investment, not the Commerce Commission. Now, here we go. Now, the Commerce Commission had no say and had nothing to do with this particular acquisition. That was led over by the New Zealand Overseas Investment Office. They made sure they let this happen. And I guess they said that, well, since Tiny only going to own a majority of, a Serato instead of the whole enchilada, we can let that go. Because now we know that this company really has nothing to do with DJ hardware or software. And I'm sure that the other competitors in that field don't have no worries either, because they said, hey, we still got Serrano's intact. We can, Serato still will be utilized with our hardware, and we don't have to worry about the big bad wolf, which is Alpha Theta. Okay. Reportedly, Serrano's estimate valuation in this deal was around $175 million, with notable growth in paid subscriptions over the prior 5 years. So that was pretty much the deal that was made between the Canadian company Tiny and Serato. So Serato, in all intents and purposes, saved their company. Yes, they had to give a little majority of their stake by another company, but at least that company, I don't know too much about Tiny. I'm gonna have to do some research on that, but I'm sure that they probably don't have too much to do with DJ hardware or software. If they do, don't quote me on that. And if anybody can find out what Tiny really does before I do, please drop it in the comments. I'm very intrigued about that. So let's go to the next one. Okay, so there's some key takeaways we're gonna take from this song and dance that Serato and Alpha Theta has been doing. Okay, so one is the widely discussed Alpha Theta Serato acquisition was not approved and never went through. So now we know, as a result, Alpha Theta Serato nada. So that means Alpha Theta did not end up, as a result to everything, Alpha Theta did not end up buying Serato. So that deal is done. Okay. Now the second takeaway is Serato decided to allow Tiny to own 66% of their stock. So now Tiny has 66% of ownership, while Serato has the minority stake. So that means Serato still can keep their companies intact. The other DJ hardware companies who use Serato don't have to worry about the big bad wolf Alpha Theta to try to run the show. And also, let me see what this takeaway. Yeah, Tiny owns a good chunk of Serato, so that means Alpha Theta cannot swoop in and buy it. Now they can, but it will be an ugly fight, and I don't think Alpha Theta, as in their wisdom, wants to go that route. So they pretty much decide, look, things happen. It is what it is. Okay, the third takeaway of it is Alpha Theta and Serato continue their long-standing partnership in the DJ ecosystem. Now, check that out. When it's all said and done, the smoke is clear. The ink has been dry. Everything was signed, sealed, and delivered. Now, Alpha Theta and Serato doing business as usual. Alpha Theta is still going to be doing their hardware and software, via record box, and then Serato will be doing business probably with all the other DJ hardware companies, including Alpha Theta. Why I say that? I have upgraded the Pioneer Opus Quad, which uses both record box and Serato DJ. So that's the takeaway. Now it says, but as independent entities, not under one corporate umbrella, which means there is no monopoly going down. Alpha Theta is not going to swoop in like the Umbrella Corporation. If you watch Resident Evil, you know what I'm talking about. And going to run roughshod and take over the whole entire DJ software by purchasing Serato. And at the same time has their grip over other DJ hardware companies. Mainly Denon, Rane, and Numark. That's not going to happen now. So I won't say all is right in the world, but what I would say is business is going to be as usual. Serrano's going to do their thing. Alpha Theta's going to do their thing. The other DJ hardware companies going to benefit with, who uses Serato going to continue to benefit for the use of Serato. Of course, Alpha Theta and Record Box is going to be, doing their thing with their improvements, and everything is going to be copacetic. Okay, I think that is it. So let's go back here. So that was my update. I just wanted to bring that attention to you guys to let you know what came about the Alpha Theta Serato scenario. I mean, I was intrigued, to try to find out myself if Alpha Theta ended up buying out Serato because there was no other talks about that, and I personally wasn't aware that another company own a majority of Serato until I did the research. So it's always good to do research when you're doing these discussions because even me as the person who's presenting out to you guys, I'm learning something because I didn't know that. In my opinion, I thought that it was stalled. I thought that Alpha Theta decided to try it again at another time, or maybe came out with a counter offer or things of that nature. But once New Zealand's commission stepped in and and broke it off, I think Alpha Theta said, you know what, we're not gonna go that route. We're just gonna keep things as is. And I believe is best as far as DJ is concerned because when you should have variety, you should have competition. If you're a DJ that use Serato, you should continue to do so. If you use record box, you should continue to do so. And I always thought that one company with that's in the same field shouldn't try to supersede all the other companies who's in that same field because that's, like I said, that's how you lose competition. I mean, we've seen enough with airlines and all other business entities that just keep swooping up and taking over the little guys and stuff like that. I mean, seen Google did it, Amazon did it, I mean, Comcast and did it. So it's refreshing that when it comes to the DJ world, there are hardware and software companies that can stand their ground and say, you know what, we don't think this is a good idea. And it's also awesome for New Zealand, who where Serato is based in, cares about that company to the point where they don't want to see a monopoly happening on their watch. So that's why they decide to step in and say, no, 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 no. We're not going to do this. This is not going to happen. Now, I don't know what Tiny did to end up purchasing the majority of Serato. That's probably going to be another discussion that I'm going to have to do some research on. And when I do, I'm going to bring it to you guys so you can know, so we can both know, what's the deal. Okay? Now, I'm going to leave this here. I'm glad you guys came through. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to doing another discussion. Just know that I do these discussions on Mondays, and just to know, as of next month comes around, the Groove Rant will be back. So I'll be back with bringing some more music, some new tunes, all that good stuff, and I will be doing some multi-screening here. I mean, right now I'm on YouTube as well as Facebook and Kick. I will be multi-streaming on those particular platforms until I restart the Groove Rant. And then once I do that, I will be returning back to Twitch. So, this is House That Speaks, everyone. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And as always, peace and love.